Talk fast. This may be quick.
Okay. Good evening. This is the meeting of the Master Plan Committee pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Master Plan Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so on the Southborough Town website /remote meetings. So we call this meeting to order. And the first order of business is to review the survey. Has everyone looked at it?
Me,
Yeah.
it's Judith. One thing that we found very helpful on the Conservation Commission was to actually do a roll call so that we can actually formally confirm that we do have a quorum.
Okay. Latrell present.
Karen Cvikovich present.
Sam Stivers present.
Mark Collier.
Kathy Bartolini present.
Judith Watson present.
Joyce Magnoskis present.
Catherine McKee, present.
Richard Wallace present.
Okay, we're good.
And when we talk about the survey, do we all want to have it up in front of us, or do we want to have one of us share our screen to show it on the screen?
Do we need it up?
I'm just asking because it is possible on this technology to.
Mimi had a question. Who made the edits to the survey, which I liked, but I was curious as to where those came from.
Well, Andrew and I did a round and there was some input from Richard and from Joyce.
Good.
Thank you.
I was pretty happy with the edits. I thought it made it more crisp and direct and
Yeah,
cut
I
out
like
a
them
lot of
as well.
stuff that would probably discourage people from grinding through it. So it seemed to me that that was something that was a big step forward, and I certainly support the version that was distributed.
Yeah, I support it as well. The one thing I was going to maybe suggest is if we wanted to add a question, just saying based on what's happened with COVID-19, are there any additional priorities that people want to add?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I wonder if
It just maybe
the whole-
might make
the
it feel
whole
more current.
project takes a different turn now.
Mhm, right. And I do know that in the survey, we do say, what else have we forgotten? But I thought if the question was more focused on COVID-19, it might bring to mind things that people wouldn't otherwise think about.
I like it.
So at the end, Karen, you think?
I think at the end, yeah, maybe before the very last question that says, is there anything else that we forgot? But prior to that very open question, maybe a more focused question about, based on the challenges that the town of Southborough has faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, are there any additional master plan areas that we should consider?
And I think we should date that, put some sort of a reference, because we started this a
Yep.
while ago, so
Yeah.
things were different then. So like you said, based on what's going on now, which
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joyce. Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I am too.
Sounds good.
I'm writing. But I think that's a great suggestion.
Any other comments or suggestions on the questions or wording? I think an interesting topic also is how we actually get the word out on it now, given the current restrictions. But if there are other questions, we ought to make sure everybody gets a chance to contribute.
I thought it was great. I really like the edits.
I did too.
Ditto.
It really cleaned it up.
Mm-hmm. It does seem more focused now. I wonder if we still can use the school as a channel to distribute it, because they are, of course, doing classes online. So that would be, might be one potential channel.
We should try that. Sometimes they resist adding non-school stuff to their distribution, but it would certainly be worth a conversation.
There's also a couple of Southborough Facebook groups that might be potential places where we could post the survey or a link to
What
the
about
survey.
my Southborough?
My Southborough would be great, for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
But everyone doesn't use it.
No, I think
I
that's
mean,
why we
even
need
the
variety.
You hit a
Facebook
lot of
or any- I
different
mean-
areas.
Mm.
Hey, Sam, is the Board of Selectmen sending out any kind of mail-in, United States Postal Service mail-in?
Not that I'm aware of at this point. We have not talked about it. We could talk to Mark Purple about mechanisms for distributing this, depending on, he's more in touch with the communications that go out officially from the town, from various departments. So that would be a good person to touch base with.
I was just thinking, if we're doing a mail-in, I don't know if we can piggyback that and put this in the same envelope.
Yeah, I want to talk to town clerk. He may do some mailings. There may be some stuff that go out relative to town meeting postponement too. So it's certainly worth keeping track of sort of what's going out and potentially piggyback. Although the survey is not, what's it, it's like 12 pages or something like that. So that could add to the cost of a mailing.
But I think it's now the questions are reduced.
Yeah,
I think it should go down to 6 pages, Sam, because that was one of the things that
Yeah,
uh,
so that's 3 sheets front and back maybe.
yeah. But I mean, I think just having it on the front homepage of the town of Southborough website is probably one of the best ways we can get it out there, because Mark's now moved his COVID-19 update from a kind of a posting email onto the website.
Right.
So I think he's really trying to encourage people to look at the website rather than kind of rely on email.
In a perverse way, I think a lot more people are likely to be looking at the website nowadays than they would have been a
Exactly.
couple of months ago. So if we had
Yeah.
something up front there to
Yeah.
provide the info, that would be, I think, a pretty good communication device.
So Sam, is the town meeting still on the 16th?
No, not April 16th. We just voted to extend it to May 30th with the
Okay.
expectation that it will probably be extended again because I think it was May 30th, the state law now allows you to postpone it about 30 days each time. So you got to reconsider it. So maybe it was May the 17th or something like that. I can't remember the date, but the expectation is from the moderators, it will likely be extended again, I think.
Right.
So. who knows?
Can't we do a multi kind of a distribution? Okay, use whatever resources available to us. My Southborough, the town site, even senior center website. I don't know. The more
Absolutely.
channels we have,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we definitely should. Yeah, Facebook, website, paper, any place we can get it out. School.
Senior Center has a mailing list. They're not doing, on-site stuff, but they, I assume, have a mailing list as well. And Recreation, if we could convince them to distribute, they've got a pretty big mailing list, which they, again, don't like to overuse, but
There's one problem with doing it that way. The EDC did a Urban Land Institute town-wide, every house type of thing, and we did it on the town website, and people could come in. We also went and put things up in stores and churches and different libraries and different public places. We had business cards with how to come in to the computer site to take the survey. It was just all over the place. And then we did not, we had meetings and stuff. We sent out cards later to every registered voter in town. We still had people get up at the planning board and say that they live in the downtown and they were never informed that this was going on. So it's better to have, instead of a variety of mechanisms being used, there's still going to be the chance that somebody didn't get it, and they just, were trying to destroy the validity on the basis that they hadn't received it. And
I think,
I mean,
Kathy, we're
obviously they
guaranteed-
should have.
I think we're guaranteed to have that happen. There will be people who, for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
it's always
Okay.
I think we got to do the best we can do in terms of all the different mechanisms. And then when somebody raises that issue, to be able to say, here are 14 things that we did in terms of distributing them.
Yeah. All right.
We missed it, but we did what we thought was a very comprehensive job. And, given
My assessment of the evening was the two ladies who said it, that they did not know about it,
I heard that. I
won
was
the
there.
evening, and I lost.
Mm.
Yeah. But again,
That
there's
said, I mean, I actually tend to agree with Sam, is that there is so not disputing where people are still doing full-time jobs and working from home. But I think if we're going to get anybody to take notice of this, now is the time to do it, because to some extent we've got a captive audience, particularly for people that are looking to get updates on the COVID-19. I mean, that's where they're going is to the town site. And for anyone who's looking for information on, how do I still keep my, planning application active, that's where they're going to go. So, I think that's what we talked about a couple of meetings ago, is we should start with this kind of a core anchor. And we said we'd put the display in the library and we do it on the main website. And then on the master plan committee page, it's fine to put it on all the other web pages if we can, if someone's, prepared to kind of coordinate that. And then, a couple of the blogs like My Southborough and Cowan, if you've got other Facebook groups that you think, I think we've just got, to Sam's point, we've just got to do the best we can here, because this, we know from the visioning forum where we did a shotgun approach to trying to get the invite out, and we didn't get, we got a small percentage of the 10,000 people who live in Southborough. And I think that's just the reality of the world, is that, there are people that are interested in these things and people that aren't. So I think, we start with the town website and then filter out and see what else we can get out there.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, I don't want to delay the conversation any further. I agree we're never going to get to anybody, and we're going to get told at the end we did it wrong. But I will point out that I don't think that all the elderly are tapping into the town website and getting their information digitally. And that's a group that's hard to communicate with because of that, and possibly making sure hopefully that the Council on Aging has a way of contacting the elderly.
The Council on
They send
Aging-
out a newsletter, don't they?
Well,
not
that
only
goes by
that-
mail.
right.
Okay, may I interject something? The Council on Aging is contacting every elderly person that they have on their list that they know of, okay? So there are all those people, there are always people who are recluse and they don't subscribe. But perhaps we could, because I got a phone call today from the Council on Aging, and I'm on the board, seeing how I am. They're reaching out to the elderly community.
Mm.
So that being said, perhaps, it's just like the census, you need a computer to do the census, you need a computer to do the survey, do you?
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
No.
You produce a paper
Well-
copy to send to people.
Well, we said we could do the paper copy. What we originally said was, because we set up the library location as the point where people could go in and look at the materials online as a potential, supplement to the survey. We said we'd have paper copies of the survey available in the library, but obviously that's not an option now. I think the thing we have to be really aware of here is we're trying to get this out sooner rather than later because we're going to have an end of June hard stop for the MAPC to write the visioning report. If we don't get that done by the end of June, or if we don't get them the materials, including the survey results, in time for them to create a report, we're going to end up having to write that report ourselves. And
Have they specified that time?
way kind of, 11,500 or whatever it was, dollars that we've so far invested in them. So I think, time is of the essence here. And I like Joyce's thought about if we can tag team on something with the Council of Aging, if they'd be willing to say, oh, by the way, there's a survey on the town website if you'd be interested in doing it. But again, people are going to have a, access to a computer to do it. I don't think we have time to try and get out printed copies.
Okay.
Judith, I guess
Okay.
it's an interesting question. Given that the state is relaxing all sorts of deadlines for people, is it worth a conversation with MAPC to say, hey guys, given the current situation, can we have another 30 days or something beyond the June 30th deadline to get this thing done? If we think that would be helpful, that would be, I think, a useful question to ask. They can always say no, but they might say yes and give us a little more time to work on communication here.
Well, the end of June is actually pushing back another 2 months from what we originally asked them to do the extension from. The extension was, they were meant to finish, was it end of February, Mimi? And we already
Yeah, the pandemic came
March, I
after the
think.
deadline.
Yeah, we already got an extension to the end of April, and now I think Karina's tentatively agreed with them that we can go to the 30th of June. I mean, the other point I think we just want to, we've talked about it before, is if we get that visioning report out by the end of June, that will have been 15 months of kind of everyone's hard work to get it to that point. I would strongly recommend that we don't try and kind of keep pushing this off because, otherwise I think, we're going to lose momentum and not everyone is going to be able to kind of keep up with the participation. And we just really want to get this, I think, from my perspective, we want to get to the point where we've got the visioning report, because that's only the first step. The real power of this plan is going to be when we actually start working on the implementation and get it out there and get it approved by the boards and committees. And that's probably going to take us till
I agree
to do that.
I agree speed is important here, but also we got to have the right input. So maybe we push hard on getting the survey out, and if that goes smoothly and we're getting good responses, then great, we're on the right schedule. If it turns out that we, for whatever reason, start having trouble with that, I'd rather hang on to the resource to be able to help with it with decent input than having 14 responses to the survey to send to the MAPC folks to say, write the visioning report around very limited input. I'm hopeful that that won't happen, that we'll get a fair response.
Right.
Well, if we go through the town website and we try to get responses, and then it's lax, there's not enough of them. Would it be possible? I mean, Sam is good at hanging out at a transfer station.
I have my mask and gloves too.
With that Oscar on the muffins.
So at that point, when things hopefully open up, to have, I'd be willing to do it. Have people out there handing out. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe too much work or something.
I don't know.
But we do need to get it done, and if it's not getting done, maybe we can roll up our sleeves and make it happen. Stand
Yeah.
on the trails and hand out surveys. Whatever. I'm not that busy right now. I'd be happy to.
I'd be happy to help with that too.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
happy to
do
help
that.
too.
Push as hard as we can, keep a close eye on responses, and if it's flagging, then we can try other things.
Well, what if we do it at the transfer station? then we get into the point that it's not a computerized tabulation. We're actually by hand going through each one and compiling the results of the
Right,
paper
right.
turned into us, which is fine as long as we realize it takes some time. And if we're going to do that, then maybe we just, because I kind of backed off and wasn't pushing because I figured we didn't want to do that kind of paperwork. But if we put the survey in the newsletter and somehow come up with some money to include what that costs to add that to the newsletter for the Council on Aging, we've at least reached out the best way we can to the majority of senior citizens, because they do have a good tabulation of people by age. I mean, I heard while I was on the phone but not able to be heard, and you guys were trying to call me. I know you found out my age and all this stuff about me.
That's right.
So,
But not your phone
and I don't
number.
hide my age. I keep trying. I'll give you my phone number right now, 508-485-4116. That's the main line, and I
So
have never
Kathy, I did
memorized
see
the
your
phone I'm
age
on.
online, but I didn't share it with anyone. You probably heard
That's
that.
quite all right. That's quite. I would gladly tell anyone my birthday is on Easter Sunday. This
Lovely.
coming Sunday.
Oh, it's
So,
coming up.
it's, but I'm just saying if we're going to do it, it might be the easier way of doing it is to just do the elderly that technique and do the paperwork that's necessary to do the cross tabbing that's normally done by the computer.
And that would be a great problem to have. I'd be happy with taking paper and getting it into the computer, so.
Yeah, and I
But
had
then
volunteered.
but then we'd need a way.
It
to
probably
get
doesn't
back-
cost that much to add 3 pieces of paper to their newsletter. I'd contribute to the cost of that if they said we need to be paid to do that.
But then we'd
That's
need a
fantastic.
way to get the responses back again.
Yeah, the mail.
They'd have to mail them in. Yeah.
Mail them or drop it
Mail.
off at the townhouse at the mailbox.
Yeah, that's that. But then again, we have the handicap who can't move, so therefore we'd be meaning if they couldn't. But anyway, well, I'm willing. I don't know. Get them to mail it back to them, and we'll do it. But I do think those who can get to a mailbox, at the town hall, do it that way, or they take a lot of paperwork at the front desk at the Council on Aging building, so it could be done that way. But then there are those who do not have the mobility, and it's that age bracket that doesn't have the mobility. But again, just call somebody and tell us to come pick it up. We can do, I can do that.
You could put an instruction in what they send out to various ways for people to get the information back.
Right.
How about as
Anyways,
a
that's my
first step-
suggestion.
How about as a first step, I contact Pam,
Yeah.
the director of the Council on Aging,
Yep.
to see if this is a possibility.
Good.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I'll contact her and ask if we can put a survey in the next newsletter. Everybody is like kind of wondering when the next anything's going to be. So that's hard to determine, but at least I can ask.
Because the most probably utilized part of the newsletter is the calendar that's in that.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to
And there
put
are
that calendar
flyers
out.
that go in, there
Oh, yeah.
are separate edits, and if we had the money, because everything's in the budget, so we'll see how that works out. I'll ask,
Okay.
if it's a
All right.
matter of dollars, can we, master plan, come up with those dollars? Would they have the ability or the interest of putting it in? There might be
Right.
a reason why they can't, and I don't know that. But
Yeah.
I'll do that.
And then the finalized survey is going to be converted to electronic with a survey link. Is that right, Mimi?
Yeah, MAPC is doing whatever they do to tabulate it for us. If we get it to them in time.
But if we wind up with paper copies, we can tabulate independently and send them the numbers to add to whatever they get.
Right.
Okay.
Are we going to vote on the survey?
Yeah, I have one more. So everybody saw the new suggestions that were just sent out on Tuesday, I think. Some changes in wording and making clear that this was a survey, community survey. Did everyone see those comments?
I saw them, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one more comment that didn't make it on to that, specifically on diversity of housing on page 4. Does everyone have a survey?
Yeah.
The question was whether it's redundant to have both questions, increase the supply of affordable housing and have the question on the safe harbor status for 40B, which are kind of both the same thing.
Not quite, is it?
Yeah, I was gonna say not quite either, because one is, sorry, Sam, go, you were speaking first.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was saying the safe harbor 40B, that's really around zoning and stuff versus the need for the town just to have that diverse, affordable housing mix outside of 40B. The way I read it, and the part that I guess I don't like about it is, yeah, we reach our 40B limit. Does that mean we stop creating and finding and promoting affordable housing? I wouldn't think so.
Right.
I hope not.
And we could reach the 40B safe harbor in a way that would satisfy the state, but would do nothing for diversity of housing, actually.
Correct. So yes, this one right here will be interesting how they answer that one, because it'll be dictated. When I see that one, I'm thinking more of zoning, 40B. I'm going to answer that about my feeling about zoning, and then I can answer the affordable housing a completely different way.
So you think we should keep them both in, Tom?
I say yes.
Okay,
Me too.
okay.
And do we think that as written, you too had to point out why you felt that they were different and what that difference was to, I'll say, a sophisticated audience. Do you think the average reader taking this is going to see the differential between the safe harbor question and diversity and affordable housing diversity as well as general housing diversity?
Good question.
Probably not.
Yeah, I personally followed the whole 40B and, probably got interested in it because of the project by 495 Route 9. Yeah, when it's sophisticated, it's really the people that, key on that word 40B, and are they going to know what that is?
But I think that to actually distinguish effectively, you got to write a small book for people who aren't.
Yeah, no, I know.
Following.
And I'll go with you guys that I think it's good to have the question, because I'm also one that can see the distinction of what you're learning.
Yeah.
If the people answering the question understand the distinction of what they're telling us. But
Yeah.
They may not, but I think it gives us some useful
it
information
gives us a chance,
about an
right?
important topic. And
Right.
given the alternative of writing a much more complicated question and confusing most of the world about it, I prefer to keep what we have, but, one vote.
All right, so do we want to vote on whether to accept the survey?
I'll make a motion, we accept the survey.
Well, sorry. I think the motion is that we accept the survey with the additional
As
question
amended.
on COVID-19. And we're just going to have to,
Okay,
let Mimi put in an appropriate statement there, because I don't think we can keep going.
I forgot about that one, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the motion. That's the survey as circulated this week with the addition of COVID-19 question.
Yep, and all right, I'll second your motion.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, and I think we have to roll call vote.
Yeah.
Latrell, yes.
Vicky,
Karen Svikovich, yes.
Stivers, yes.
Mark Cooley?
Kathy Bartolini, yes.
Judith Watson, yes.
Wallace, yes.
Joyce McNoskis, yes.
Mimi, I think you have to vote too.
I did first.
did.
Latrell, yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Twice. You get
Sorry.
to vote twice. Or super quorum.
Let's not start a habit.
Okay, so
Did
that's,
Cat vote? Hey, you
Vote
guys, I
early,
didn't
vote
hear
often.
Cat vote.
Yeah, Kat voted, but
Okay,
it was on top of someone else. Nikki,
Okay, thanks, Cat. Sorry.
no problem.
okay, we got through the first item on our agenda.
Yeah.
Good work.
And under reports, I had one thing, but Karen actually brought it up. I was going to ask that we think about what this, the effect of this pandemic is going to have on master planning in the future, because I think there are a lot of things that are different now from
Mm.
3 weeks ago. So just something to think about as we move forward.
Can you give me an example of what you think we might be changing in the master plan on the basis of the pandemic?
Well, so our economy is pretty much has grinded to a
Shot,
halt.
yeah.
And
Right.
I'm thinking of small businesses. I don't know how many of them are going to come back after, and whether we need to do something specifically to try and help in that area. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's, you know, this is all unknown, but
Mm.
I don't think we're going to turn on a
Ex-
switch and everything's going to be back to normal again.
And even our enhanced sense of community has changed because originally we wanted to get people together and now we're separating people. It's really the unknown, but
Right.
Well, and Mimi, I think our conversation tonight is a great example of a potential issue, is that I think has reinforced the importance of the town having enhanced methods for communicating electronically about
agree.
things, and whether it's committee meetings or votes at town meeting or whatever, that there's great value in terms of being able to continue, you know, operation of the town and committees and the public business. If we can't get together, not that we expect that this is going to happen every year, but I think we've shown that we've had fairly limited ability. Tom and others have done a great job in terms of putting this kind of capacity together, but going forward, it would be great to have a platform that had better reach into the community electronically, so we could get more done in these kinds of
Exactly.
situations.
A
Yeah,
push
I've-
versus a pull. A pushing it
I've
out.
just kind of casually with people that I've interacted with in the town in the last 2 weeks at a distance asked the question, you know, what do we think is most important in the town based on what you've experienced with the pandemic? And the two things that have come up with the people that I've interacted with are more connectivity electronically and with updates, being able to stay connected in a state of emergency. And the importance, and I say this knowing this is my bias, but the importance of open space and trails during this time.
Mhm.
So one way that we might want to think about trying to incorporate this, because we're going to have it on the survey, is, you know, our 5 working groups, I hope, are working on their objective goal statements. And I think what we could potentially do is make sure that we're asking ourselves in our working groups the question, would we do anything different with our objectives and goals? Would we want to add anything in as a result of, you know, our experience with COVID-19? Because then we're going to get a kind of a broad, you know, perspective across all of those areas that we're saying we're going to build our master plan around.
Right.
I agree.
You know, the response kind of side of it, as opposed to the broader what does the community need, will definitely be, I'm sure, included in the MVP, the process which was kicked off just in early March, literally the week before we went into lockdown. with the first stakeholder meeting there, and that's under the public services kind of umbrella. So we can definitely include that in there. So I guess maybe that's a segue into, you know, how is everyone doing with their objective goal statements?
I'm
Well,
making very
we
limited
tried to have a
progress.
meeting.
I'm sorry, what
We
did Joyce
can't have-
say?
I was saying that we tried to get together and have a meeting, and I contacted, you know, whatever town clerk, and we were not able to. So it's hard to move forward if you can't meet and discuss our goals. You know what I mean? Have
Can we now
everybody
meet
been able-
virtually for the subcommittee meetings, Mimi, based on the new
No,
ruling? Can-
No.
No?
Well, I think
Well,
that,
that's what I was told anyway, because
I
I
think
tried to get
things
a
have
meeting
loosened
together.
up.
They just changed it this week, I think, to allow non-essential committee meetings to be held. So that
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Joyce, I think you can just call the people in your small group and make a little conference call. You don't need something fancy like Zoom. You could just add them.
You have to be careful with
Okay.
open meeting law issues relative to that. Might check with the town clerk. Get some advice on that.
But for
Could-
example,
I
when we
thought-
met the green space and the open space and green initiatives, we just met. You know, I contacted everybody by email. I contacted the senior center and got a place for us to meet, which of course you don't need to do now. And we met.
And
And I was
thought-
told that wasn't in violation of meeting law because
Yeah.
it wasn't a quorum.
Yeah, and I thought we'd established that because the working groups have now been under the consolidated working groups, we're still not at a situation where we have a quorum in any of those groups. And as long as it's the team leader that reaches out to the individual team members to initiate the conversation, then I think that's okay. It's where I think the challenge comes if we're asking people at this meeting to then set up separate meetings on the working groups. And that, if you remember a couple of meetings ago, that's why we went to the 5 working group structure with one team leader who's not necessarily doing everything, but at least that's the point person to be able to say, okay, I'd like to have a call and get your input on, you know, sense of community, and, you know, here's our draft document, you know,
Agreed.
nominated to be the scribe.
It sounds, I think the distinction, as I understand it, is that we can appoint a point person for each of the areas. Where we start getting into murkier territory relative to open meeting laws, if we appoint a subcommittee, which we've not done
Right.
at this
Right.
point. So we have a point person, and that point person has the responsibility to connect with whatever resources they think are appropriate to get the information pulled together for that particular topic area.
And it wasn't that hard when we met with the open space and green initiatives because all of us already have a draft document. So the task, if I remember correctly, was just to take the additional input that you were given in the document from the visioning meeting and incorporate that into the already existing document that was a part of the visioning meeting.
Mhm.
And so with open space and green initiatives, for example, we just made some additions and we had some conversation and made sure we were still aligned and typed it up.
I just got confused when the restrictions came out about,
That's
open
understandable because
meeting.
it was confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, we
and I
originally,
even contacted the town clerk and asked, and he said, blah, blah, you know, according to the, you know, I mean, he just gave me the
Mhm.
blurb.
yeah,
Mhm.
So I had to,
Joyce, at our meeting this week, we voted to relax those restrictions. Originally, it was just COVID-19 urgent meetings. We voted
oh,
to
great.
allow committees to begin functioning with the focus on things that are more time sensitive as opposed to things that might be postponed, given the limited resources for the Zoom capability. We've got 2 Zoom meetings that can happen simultaneously now, And Tom is trying to find other people to help manage the technical side of that, but we've got limited resources. So again, meetings that are aimed at things that are fairly important from a timing standpoint
I have my cell phone right here.
are okay, as I understand it. This seems to be one of them.
Sorry, guys, I just got distracted. It seems my dog, who is afraid of storms, has taken off. So if my
Oh.
phone rings unexpectedly, it's someone in Southborough who's found my dog. So
Oh my God.
Is it
Yeah.
stormy over there?
it's a little windy.
I was
My
going to
dog
say
has
there's no
this.
thunder in my side of town.
Yeah, it's
It was
kind
this
of
afternoon.
windy and a little bit stormy out, but he's really weird and with funky weather. So
Oh, okay.
not to dissuade the meeting, but if my phone rings and I excuse myself, that's right.
Okay.
Is your number on your dog?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yep.
Any members have anything they want to report?
I just wanted to ask Mimi, if I remember correctly, the last time we met, people said that our section was okay and that we didn't need to meet again. Am I correct on that? The one you and I worked on?
Yeah, it hasn't been presented, but we can send that to our team leader to include in the
Okay.
Is that the,
Can you tell me which that is, you guys?
is that
commercial diversity.
commercial?
Thank you.
And that's, I mean, I'm not saying that to pat ourselves on the back because I was surprised. But because I had missed the meeting before that. And apparently the thought was that was farther along and that it was okay. So I walked out of the last session we had with no work assignments, which was so different that I remembered it.
Awesome. That's great.
It's
it
like,
hasn't
wow,
been-
I got no work to do here.
So it was never discussed with the committee. The
Okay.
little spreadsheet was sent
Well,
out.
how did
There
they come
wasn't-
up with that idea? It was a unanimous agreement that night. That I was sitting there looking, I was like shocked, but okay. Are we going to be presenting to the group then?
Yeah,
Okay.
or it should be
All right.
discussed. I think, well. Yeah,
Okay.
I think we should do a goal statement more in line with the template that the Green Initiatives did.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. And then someone asked if there was anything else to report. I called Bonnie because I didn't know who Bonnie Mack was, but she was asking me to call her. And it's Bonnie Faniff, Mack being her maiden name. But anyways, she wanted, her husband's quite ill and she has to be with him. So she has done some work trying to track down the earth removal bylaw and a lot of the bylaws relative to the physical development of sites in which, these bylaws that people don't seem to know exist, and even in some cases not who's responsible for administrating them. And the earth removal bylaw, she even went to the DPW director and she said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even know that there is an earth removal bylaw. So she and I both kind of remember that the town did vote one, and I don't remember what was the cause celeb to motivate everyone to do it, whether they were mad at a particular type of project that happened or there was a state, I personally think there was a state bylaw that state law that said you got to do state regulation anyway, I mean to say of a state law that required us to do it. But yeah.
Chapter 85 in the town code is the earth removal bylaw. So it's there, it's been there for some time.
Okay, she couldn't find it, and 85 will be easy to remember.
On the town
Route
website,
85.
the town code thing.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have it and we can just insert it. It's and reference it in the, however we're handling all these bylaws because at some point we talked about trying to go to boards who are responsible for doing the work specified under that bylaw. And because they're doing physical development, including the town with the roadways and stuff like that. And the DPW director didn't know that bylaw existed. And she didn't get any place, I guess, at the planning board when she asked, or the staff's office of the planning board. So
We passed it
she
in
just wants to know how it's one thing to have a bylaw, but if the implementers don't know it exists or that it applies to them to do it,
Yeah.
then that's her point. So I'm just relaying it to the board per her request.
Board of Selectmen is responsible for enforcement. It was adopted by town meeting in 2006. So.
Okay. 14 years ago.
So I will put on my earth removal
memory was
hat and drive around town looking for bulldozers.
Okay.
That's impressive, Sam.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm impressed.
I have a tractor. I can move a little bit of earth.
Can I? And I'm not being, I don't know what, mean or whatever by asking the question this way, but do you remember a time that the Board of Selectmen had to use that bylaw in the
Absolutely
14
not.
years?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So,
I
okay,
remember a
and-
time when they were asked to,
Oh, really?
but this was before you, Sam.
Oh, of course.
Of course, things got so much better then.
But they didn't know how to administer it because there was an issue with Park Central that earth was being carted out of there
Ah.
one Thanksgiving weekend.
I actually remember that now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Interesting.
On a Thanksgiving weekend that was being done. Oh, great.
Yeah.
I would think
By design, I'm sure.
that I'll agree with you. But I would think, based upon what I kind of remember the bylaw being, that it would be called up a lot more than once in 14 years.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's a strict bylaw.
Yep, it is.
It's hard to comply.
I don't know how many other votes there are for it, but
Okay, well, I don't know whether the building inspector should be doing this on your behalf. I don't really, or the Conservation Commission, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there that most people didn't know it existed. Those few of us who did couldn't remember how it came to be and who was responsible. But Bonnie did say, I think it's the Board of Selectmen. And, and we've, as a selectman, you can only think of, 2006, and you haven't had it while you've been on there. So maybe that ties to the master plan of better utilization of existing bylaws instead of needing new ones, maybe.
potentially.
Anyone else?
Nope.
Minutes?
I'll move we adopt the minutes as presented.
I can second the motion.
Who was that? Was that Karen Spitkovich?
That was Karen Svikovich, but I'm happy to give that role to someone else if they jumped in before me too.
No, go ahead, Karen. That's all right.
Okay, yeah, I'll type in.
Any discussion?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Latrell,
Aye.
yes.
Divers
Yeah,
aye.
you have
Spitkovich,
to
yes.
roll call.
Oh, we have to do roll call for this too. Okay.
Yeah.
Divers aye.
EI, or agreed. Yes.
Judith
Kathy
Watson,
Bartolini, yes.
Wallace, yes.
Joyce McNoskis, yes.
Mark Coolier, yes.
I think that's everyone.
Yep.
And the next thing is the meeting, the calendar that we adopted at the beginning of the year has our next meeting for May 6th.
May 5th,
6th, I think.
6th, that's what I couldn't tell whether you're saying 6th or 5th, all right. Well, we won't be out of, I doubt we'll be out of pandemic social
Technically,
distancing.
things may end May 4th.
Yes, technically, but yeah, but
Why don't we
So
hang
you
on
want
to
to
that
keep
meeting?
that meeting date and maybe it'll be another Zoom. So because we're so good at it now.
That's right.
yeah.
I was going to
Now we
suggest
know
that
how to do it.
our
And as
last act
Karen
for this
said, go on.
meeting ought to be everybody disconnect and we'll reconnect 4 times to practice here.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder, can we set a goal with the team leaders? And, I'm happy to help reach out to the ones that aren't here if it's appropriate or whatever I can do to help. But can we set a goal that the team leaders meet with their sub teams before our next meeting?
And have a report.
And have a
Right.
draft objective goal statement. I think that would be great.
Well, should those draft objectives be placed on the master plan Google Drive?
Yes.
Just following up with our last meeting, as that was the objective, was for everyone to post that up so that they can communicate
And
with the groups.
Perhaps we could send out, kind of like a step-by-step, because Joyce, you were rightfully confused about whether or not you could meet virtually or not. It's very recent that you can. So maybe we could send out something and call the team leaders to say, yes, you can meet virtually. Here's a suggested way to meet virtually. And here's a template for what you need to come up with.
Thank you.
So I'll because I think I drafted the original kind of process anyway, and Kat kind of put it in a nice format for
Beautiful
me. Why
Google
don't
Drive, yeah.
let me take? Why don't I take that if everyone's okay?
That's awesome, Judith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do a quick summary of what we can do, and we can send that out.
Yeah, I would describe it as the team leader can reach out to team members virtually. I would not describe it as meet virtually.
Yeah.
Can't they meet virtually though? Sam, can't they have like a conference call meeting and talk about their
I think
area?
that gets touchy.
Huh.
I actually do.
You have to call one-on-one?
You're saying the virtual meeting is touchier than calling up with
No,
with the team leader talking individually with each
Opposite.
member?
opposite. I think
You're saying the virtual is better than the private calls?
No, I think individual contact is okay, but I think group meetings starts getting into slippery slope territory. That's my personal opinion from what I've
Can
heard
we-
about this.
Mimi, could we try to
Individual- oh, I'm
clarify
sorry.
that? Because
I've called the AG's office like
yeah,
5 times on this. I don't
'cause
think they
it would
know.
it'll take them a long time to call each person individually versus, have a meeting and have everybody
I
talk
agree.
about it.
It's
So,
very
well, I think the point is that there's no directive given by this committee. We're not setting up subcommittees. There are teams, and the team leaders can do what they want to get the information that they need.
To create the goal document.
Yes.
Can I bring up something on the housing diversity? Why we're
Sure.
team leads. Karen Hanlon Shimkus, her participation, I guess is word, is really, hasn't been in a lot of the meetings lately. And then I think you mentioned it, Kathy Bartolini, that Bonnie's husband is in poor health. I don't know
Right.
how much time I could take from her for that. And that just leaves me. So the question for the group is that fine? Which I don't mind doing. Because most of this report's going to be coming out of SHOPSY's housing production plan. Or should we task someone else to join me?
I'm happy to work with you on it, Tom, because the stuff that I've been working on is mainly the stuff with Karen, and I think we're in pretty good shape there. And then the MVP, the MVP part of public services, and that's done, and that's kind of moving at a pace now. So the town. So I'm happy to connect with you on the housing and, help with that.
Well,
I am too. And the reason I said, I thought at one point when I had been in the hospital, I didn't get put on your working group, but at some point thereafter, I did get put on that working group. But I'm just saying, I'm willing to do it because I definitely have, that's the stronger part of my planning background is housing and housing development and affordable housing and 40B and all that sort of stuff.
perfect. Welcome to the group.
Welcome to the group and have your report ready next week, please.
You're alone no longer, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom, I know a teeny weeny bit compared to Kathy, but I'm happy to be pair of hands and, my scribing skills are generally thought to be quite good.
I do think
They
both
are.
of you. I'll be circling back just then before we break up. I'll be circling back to both of you with the current state of the Shopsy's housing production plan. Some of the
Okay.
stuff like that.
Look forward to it.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Second.
move.
All
Second.
in favor?
You got to
Latrell,
roll
yes.
call.
McKee, yes.
We got
Vickers,
a-
yes.
Stivers, yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Yes.
Kathy Bartolini, yes.
Great job, chaps. I think someone's just delivered your supper, Mimi. So
Someone what?
I saw the door open.
I just got mine.
And someone